Hi, this is David Morovitz from Invision. I wanted to take you through today the DSP function on the AudioControl Director series amplifiers. So we're going to start with the operations page here. So you can see just simply type in the IP address of your product into your chosen web browser. Today I'm using Safari, but Google Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer would do the job absolutely fine. So in the operation menu here, this is where we can set the power settings for the product, so we can set it whether it's signal sensing or not, as the case may be, and we have the overall power function that we can control from here. Moving down, you can see my zones here. So I've got my 4 output zones and my 2 digital output zones here, giving me a total of 6 zones. If I wanted to do some testing of grouping, I could add them all to a group. If I want to toggle on mono or mono state of a zone, I can certainly do that. Standby, on and off, so I can actually turn the zone on and off as required from here. Choose the input source. I can trim should I need to, and identify the unit. Basically, if you've got them in a stack, if you press identify unit, the Ethernet lights on the front of the unit will blink, just to give you an idea of which one is which in your stack. You can see the temperature and the protection, so I can see well within normal operating window, so I can see that from there. So that's just all on the very first page that you come to. Next one is the device configuration. So this is where I named all of my zones in here, and where I named all of my sources in here. So you can see I've got my digital inputs A to D, and I've got my stereo inputs. They break it down into channels, but basically it's source 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then digital on the same bank. These can be used independently, so I technically have 8 inputs that I can use here. So you can see I've got audio return coming from my zones here into the multi-room amplifier, and I have a couple of sources that I can add into the unit as well. I've got the network settings down here, so should I wish to set it to a static IP address, here is where I will do that. So simply uncheck DHCP, type in your details as required, and leave it from there. Always leave your automation port as 23. This is for the various drivers that you can get for your chosen control system. So always leave that as 23. If you change that, obviously you then will have no communication with your chosen control system driver, so do leave that as is. There are some logging settings that we can change down here. You can put in some email addresses should you wish to get logging. Yeah, if that's required, we can absolutely do that. Things like timer, current time, all that kind of stuff, that just goes into the logging emails. So that's really the configuration. If I scroll a bit further down, you will see I've got an import and export settings function. I have a firmware tab where I can choose the latest firmware for the device, available from AudioControl.com. And speaker calibration manager. Okay, so one of the unique features of the AudioControl Director series is they have pre-defined, let's call them EQ settings for lots of chosen manufacturers. So I'm going to go on to show you that in a second, but basically here is where you upload the file. So if you're visiting an older site where this function needs to be implemented with latest firmware, you download the latest CSV file from the AudioControl website and you upload the file into here, and that will populate your system with the pre-done calibration files. We now go into the zone configuration. So I can see I'm in the kitchen zone here. I can choose my input, I can assign it to a group if I want to, and here is the speaker calibration profile. Okay, so this can be turned on and off. Okay, so you can hear the difference. So I can choose by brand. Okay, so this is the latest version, so I can see all the brands that are currently supported. Today I'm going to choose Origin Acoustics, and then I just simply choose what speakers I'm using from this list. So we'll choose D87s for today. and turn that on, and that will load that pre-existing file. Now, the idea of this calibration profile is to suit the characteristics of the speaker. Okay, this has got nothing to do with the room you are putting it in. This is purely to get the DSP settings in line for that chosen speaker, as decided by Origin and by AudioControl. We then have the graphic equalizer here so that we can start changing the tone, whether that be for correcting room characteristics, or whether it's just purely for tone control, so we can set that up. Okay, so it's parametric EQ. We have a shelving function as well for bass and treble, so you can absolutely use that where required. Quite a useful feature is this maximum volume. Okay, customers do like to ramp it up to the max, and if you are doing a party mode or something of that nature, you might want to consider reducing the maximum volume from 100% down to maybe 95 or 90%. That way your customer has very little chance of blowing up their amplifier. You can set the on volume from here as well, so this would normally be controlled by your control system, but as a default value you can set that to, let's say, 30%. You've then got the overall volume for that zone, and we can start setting the high and low pass filters as required. So by default this subsonic filter and tweeter protection is on, so it's not going to go any lower than no lower than 20 Hertz, and actually no higher, sorry, than 20k. I've then got my user presets down the bottom, so you've got some kind of preset EQs here. You can see my user interface here. So I've done my own little EQ just as a just as a rough in for today. So you can see users 2 and 3 are currently set to flat. So you can have 3 EQ options. So you can see my little curve there. We have the loudness function should you wish to enable loudness, and any lip sync delay that you want to add as well. Okay, so this is all the settings that we can save. Once done, save to memory. Okay, really important. If you don't save that to the memory, when you turn the unit off and turn it back on again, it will go back to default. You then have the homeowner settings. So this is basically a profile that the homeowner can log into, and they can have control over which user presets they want and the bass and treble and volume. Okay, so a very simple interface for them, very easy to use.